What's the practice look like at the day after or the next practice after you were displeased with their effort in a game like you were in Madison?
Yeah, I mean, you're late in the season, so it's a little bit tricky. You still want to get after it pretty good. But yesterday was more just making sure that we start getting ready for Ohio State, from an offensive perspective in particular. Just making sure we get our rhythm and movement a little bit better, and then today we'll go a little bit harder, and then obviously into tomorrow's game.
You said that you liked the offensive performance in Wisconsin despite some of the shortcomings of the defense. Upon rewatching it, is there anything offensively that stood out to you that hasn't really happened in the last couple games?
The first half was pretty good. I think we were 1 point, like 4 or 5 points per possession is pretty high. Second half, they started switching again, and we struggled to get to the next actions. And again, that's where the leverage comes into play. It's really difficult to leverage if you don't have leverage, and so you've got to leverage those in a variety of different ways. And I think we probably have to adjust exactly how we're going to leverage particular defenses.
What's the challenge that Bruce Thornton presents for you guys defensively?
He's a big physical guard, plays with excellent pace and patience. He can guard his position. He can obviously shoot, and they run a lot of things for him in their 5-out stuff. And so, he's a really good. He's comfortable in his own skin, which means he doesn't just take random shots. So he's a good player. Presents a lot of problems for everybody.
How different is he than Boyd, what you just experienced?
Totally different, completely. Yeah, totally.
How different is the preparation for those two?
It's completely. With Boyd, it's just with Boyd, it's just a little more transition, get to his left, get downhill. Thornton plays with a level of patience, and poise and physicality, and it's hard to speed him up. Like he's pretty good. Now Boyd's obviously good too. It's just polar opposite type of players.
We're used to Bennett playing 40, but Cooper played 40 against Wisconsin. Was that planned, or did that just kind of happen?
Just kind of happened, yeah. Probably 40 is a lot. We probably need to adjust that a little bit. Not because he didn't, do anything well. It's just 40 is a lot for anybody, to be honest, particularly that position, because you're kind of banging with people, and that's hard to do. So, but part of it is we also have to have enough shooting on the floor consistently. So you got to have a few shooters with some of the other guys, and so we're still trying to navigate that. We'll navigate that till the end of the season.
I think all of us know how good of a shooter Cooper Koch is. I know it hasn't maybe translated the way you or he thought. I guess how easy has it been just to sort of keep his confidence high? Because it seems like when he does get the open look, he's still letting it fly despite the percentages not being there right now.
Yeah, it's tricky because when you don't have a ton of shooters on the floor, you've got enough, but you don't have a ton. What happens is they'll key in on the ones that you have. And so then the shots become a little more contested because they're a little more aware of where people are at. And that's probably the toughest part about it for him and even any of our shooters, just creating those rotations. And now, can we have 4 shooters or 5 shooters out there at a time? Now those shots become exponentially easier. But now sometimes we'll have 2 to 3. So then those become a little bit more difficult.
How much do you look at bracket stuff this time of year?
Not at all. I mean, I will tell you this. I'm no Joe Lunardi, but if we win the next game, and then the next game, and the next game, and the next game, it's going to give us a better chance to make the NCAA tournament. I do know that.
So you know Joe Lunardi, though.
I do know Joe. Well, I used to be a fan. Now I'm a part of it, so I don't pay attention at all. I used to pay attention.
Was there like a D2 version, D2 version of Joe Lunardi?
No, you get the regional rankings each week on Tuesday, and I did pay attention to those. A little bit more mathematical formula, less subjective, more objective. And so you just have to just simple math, and then you have to have a certain strength of schedule, have to play the right competition at the right times, all those different things. And so I did pay attention to that, yeah.
Are you tracking your net or your wins above bubble, things that the committee uses? Do you track any of that stuff?
No, I mean I don't even know where we're at in the net. I did at one point when people tell me.
25.
Okay, so that's good, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
pretty good.
I think once the season's over, I'll probably pay attention more just from a scheduling perspective. And I think that's important. You know, I think just trying to get the right schedule is really tricky. That'll be, and then get enough, you know, home games, get enough away games, et cetera. So that's how I'll use that more so than the others.
How much of the subjectivity of D1 March Madness predictions plays into you not really paying attention compared to the objectivity of Division II?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that you ultimately still have to win your last game, your next game, and so same with Division II. You know, I think we were on the other end of it a little bit at Division II, where we were going to host the regional, so you're either 1 or 2. When you're trying to get into the tournament, you have to be careful to make sure that you don't create a level of fear of failure. And so I think you have to win the next game, and me knowing that one way or the other, if we lose this or we win this or da-da-da, like it's pretty irrelevant as far as how your preparation needs to be. Now, it's same there, but I guess when you're the 1 seed, you're also trying to figure out if you're going to host the regional. And so then you've got to adjust, okay, are we going to host? Do we have to do all this stuff to be able to host? You have to turn in all your paperwork, which mostly the athletic director does anyway. So you have to adapt to some of those things too. There's like other nuances with Division II that there aren't at Division I.
How do you treat this like any other game, knowing that you and Ohio State, you guys are pretty much tied in the Big Ten standings? So how does this fare compared to the rest of the games?
Yeah, I mean, every Big Ten game is a big game because every team's so good. So again, I think from an emotional and mental standpoint, when you get up for certain games, then you have problems in the next game and the next game, or vice versa, and you stop improving. And so what is the line that Nick Saban always uses? I think he says results are a distraction, and they are. You know, it's a distraction to what you actually need to do, which is to continue to improve.
You said make sure there's no fear of failure. How do you coach that? How do you make sure that there is no?
Well, you try to succeed. You put your focus on succeeding, not on you can't lose this. It's you need to win this, or you need to perform at this level. And so I think a lot of people say don't lose, and it would be more go win. You know, there's a big difference between the two. And so making sure that you come in with a positive mindset is a big deal for us.
Is there anything different about the way you're approaching these last 2 or 3 weeks? Given last year you were in a 1-bid league where you kind of needed to win the conference tournament. I think the Valley's probably deserving of more than 1 bid, but that's just the case.
Yeah.
But you're in a league where you're potentially going to get more than 1 bid this year. You don't necessarily need to win the conference tournament to make it to the NCAA tournament.
I would prefer the pressure, to be honest. I don't know. I've been asked that a few times by somebody else, and you know, I think sometimes that's part of the problem. Is I don't necessarily listen to it, but when I feel it, I like it. I just like the pressure of it, and so I liked the pressure of last year having to win the conference tournament. I liked having to win those last few games. I didn't like it. It wasn't exactly enjoyable during it, but it does naturally heighten your awareness if you're aware of it. And so there are some accidental external factors that go into that. And so, yeah, I mean, I can see why the Big Ten, having gone through it, I can see why Power 5 does get more bids. Like it's pretty evident because you have to night in, night out go against different teams, and it becomes really difficult, and you kind of get beat up and all those different things. And so I see it from this lens now even more than I did there. Now, I do think, now this is a whole nother subject from a mid-major perspective, I do think those tournaments are cool. The problem is that team that wins that regular season, that's a big deal in my mind. And so how do you marry those two? That's a whole nother conversation later, though.
We're going to talk to Trey Thompson today. How would you describe his development this year?
I mean, he's getting better. I mean, and I've said this before. He's even better than when I said this, a month ago. Like he just keeps getting better, keeps understanding winning, keeps understanding the defensive side of things. He for him, you know, his ball, I would say, like, at this level, there's certain guys that their ball goes in, his ball goes in. Like, he finishes, he can shoot threes, he can do all those different things. And so it was just a matter of catching up defensively, which is, you know, why he chose to come early. Obviously, we expected him to play this year and play considerable minutes. It just wasn't quite ready defensively. We didn't want to burn his year. And so it was like, okay, let's see how quickly this, and then he got sick for like a month and a half. And so it was just like, oof, let's just cut our losses here and get you ready for the next season.
What's up, Peyton? Ditch Scooter? Is his foot doing better? Is he close to getting back to practice?
He's getting better. He's getting better. He doesn't love the scooter. So he's it hurt our practices when he wasn't there because he's so competitive and then he's a point guard. So then it helps the other team, you know, helps our shooters on that other team kind of get something. Now those shooters have to play the point and they're out of position in practice some. So, yeah, he's probably a couple weeks away, and I don't know if he's going to come back to practice by the end of the year, though. It'll be tough.
From your perspective, when it comes to trade, the adversity you mentioned that he kind of faced, probably a totally different plan than when he first got here. I guess, how have you seen him kind of mature and kind of handle the adversity and still know that there's a long-term vision for his success?
He's done a good job with it. You know, my expectation when we signed him was for him to play. And we really thought, and I think he can play from an offensive perspective immediately. And I think sometimes from an emotional perspective, he could have played from an emotional perspective as well. Like, he's a very mature kid in regards to that stuff. Great energy, very conscientious person. I just think when you play at a smaller school and you're bigger, you guard a lot of forwards. And so you're not aware, okay, at this level you're going to have to guard a 4 and sometimes a 3 that can really get downhill. So it ends up getting here, takes a little time from the defensive perspective. It wasn't quite there just defensively, but was always there offensively. So then you're like, okay, well, we don't want to burn your year and have you play 2 minutes. And, you know, from his perspective, he's probably sitting there, well, I'd like to play 2 minutes because he's 17 years old. And so you're like, yeah, but this isn't smart. Most kids in that, and especially how recruited he was, would have a tough time with that, you know, and he probably did have a tough time with it. But most of them, their ego gets so bruised that they can't understand the big picture and the long-term deal. And he still may not understand it, but he did trust in what we were talking about. Then he got sick, and then it was like, well, this works out, you know, pretty well. There's always a transition, and I think he would have had that transition a year later, meaning even though this year he didn't get to play in games, the next year if he came as a 20, you know, in the 26 class, if he came in that 26 class, it would have still been the same adjustment because he wouldn't have grown any better defensively having played another year of high school basketball. Nothing would have changed, or he just developed more bad habits defensively. And then now fast forward to this year, he's developed good habits defensively, and he continues to do that. So now, when he's coming in, essentially what would have been his freshman year, he'll really make an impact his freshman year.
Something we've talked about is just the struggles in terms of the ball handlers guards that can get downhill on you guys. And I realize part of that is that you don't have like a lethal rim protector. Is that something from like a roster building standpoint that you feel like you need to prioritize moving forward, or is that something you feel like you can kind of go without?
We're going to try to prioritize that, yes. We're going to try to get something along those lines. I think the biggest thing, there's 2 things. One, you can get something like that. 2, the second part of that is you need guys that can guard their position, can shoot, and can drive. And like, it seems really, really simple, but if you think through a lot of the better rosters, even in our league or wherever, they can all guard their own position, meaning they can guard those you know, like the downhill guards, the ones with some wiggle, and they can shoot, and they can drive. And so that is really helpful where you're so versatile in regards to that. Our roster wasn't necessarily built that way right away, just because part of it was just making sure that we got the right character kids. We got kids, and we built it exactly. It's all working out exactly, you know, how you plan. Obviously, you want to win the league first year, but it doesn't always work that way. But we've built culture, we've got a great foundation, and now we understand exactly what we need to be able to win into the future. So, yes, and we need guys that can guard their position on top of that.
You know how long it's been since Iowa's won the regular season title, I'm sure, don't you?
I don't. 85?
79?
79, before I was born.
So, yeah, is that, obviously it's not discussed much, but is that motivation at all? I know this season it's not gonna happen, but how important would it be to do something like that?
I think that's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
I really do. I think regular season conference championships are the hardest. I think they're harder than a national title. I think the difference is the national title requires a little luck, and there's only one of them. Tournaments, and we've won. Yeah, we've won national titles at Division II. I thought our regular season conference title meant more and was more difficult to be able to win. It's just always been my theory because it's over time. It's through injuries, it's through sickness, it's through other people's injuries, it's through, playing teams that know who you are and stuff like that. So does that add extra motivation? Not really. I'd want to do it regardless if it was last year if they won a conference championship.
All right, thanks, Coach. Oh, last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
This question is kind of relevant to everything you talked about today, but I was told about a video coordinator named Jace who met you at Northwest Missouri State, came to Drake with you.
Mhm.
Then I'm not sure if he's here right now. I wasn't told that part, but I guess if he did follow you here, I understand why it was important to get some of those players to follow you from Drake, but why was it important for him, a video coordinator, to follow you here?
Well, I think our whole staff, I think it's important that you keep your whole staff together. And the way we're built, the way we're built is, I always say, you want to get guys that you want to do life with. And a lot of that is because you need a staff that, one, that you serve, meaning you're loyal to them, and then naturally they'll reciprocate that and they'll be loyal to you because there's a lot that goes on. And so the last thing you need is the guns pointed in. You need them pointed out, and you need guys that naturally do that. And the guys that I've hired, including him, including all my managers that have followed me. I mean, I've got 2 managers that followed me from Northwest. They went to Drake and they came here. It got expensive for them. But a lot of that is because, one, the way they're treated from an internal perspective, the way we try to treat them, and then we surround them with other good people. Why that's important for success, I think if you don't get guys that you have a good relationship with, that you trust, I don't think they'll tell you the truth like you need them to. So I need guys to tell me the truth. I need guys to tell me why I'm wrong, and I need them to feel safe in doing that. Otherwise, we're not going to improve. And then we need to have difficult, and you'll see our conversations in games where we're just screaming at each other. I can't have like a sensitive person in regards to that, and I can't think, well, he doesn't like me because he says it that way. And so, because they'll say it to me that way too, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's solution finding. So to answer that specific question, that's why it's important to have guys that you trust. It's important to have guys that have your back, but it's also important to have guys that'll confront you and feel confident in that ability to confront you. Otherwise, you don't improve.
In what way does he confront you? Like you say, just tell you the truth. What ways does he do that?
So Jace was more. So he helped from a distance at Drake. He wasn't at Northwest, and then we hired him. He was actually an elementary teacher, but did our film when we were at Drake. We just paid him out of camp money, and then he came here. He's not one that'll confront me. Yeah, he's not one. He's not there yet. Those other guys are though, but Jace is my guy. Jace he's by far and away. I think he's the best film guy in the country. He's elite. He breaks sports code consistently. So he's high level.
Thanks,
guys.
Thank you.